Hey everyone, it's Shane with Excessive Performance, and today we've got a very special guitar that I've been wanting to get my hands on for a long time. We've got the Zakk Wylde camo. Okay, this is going to be a Zakk Wylde Epiphone. He also has a Gibson version of this. These are very, very, very rare. This model was made to commemorate Dimebag's life, and so these are pretty tough to come by. I've been looking one for about 3 years now. I finally found one in a shape that I could put onto a video. Zakk Wylde Epiphone Les Pauls are going to be a lot different than most of the Epiphones that you see, or Les Pauls in general, because they have a maple neck, and they have EMGs in them, but they are not active. They are passive EMGs. So they are the EMG HZ, and these are specified for those. Now, if you get the Gibson version of this guitar, it does come with the EMG 8185 Zakk Wylde set. Alright, so the graphic on these is going to be a little bit different than the Gibson. The Gibson is going to look like it's been airbrushed on, where this is more of a traditional camouflage pattern. But it's also going to carry over the bullseye from the original Zakk Wylde guitar. Again, it is going to be typical setup. You're going to have your toggle switch, 2-tone, 2-volume, 2 humbuckers, typical stop bar, tailpiece, and bridge. Again, it's a custom, so you're going to see the multi-layer binding. Moving up to the neck, you're going to see that we have a maple neck, a maple fretboard. We've got block inlays like most customs. And at the headstock, we're going to have the Zakk Wylde truss rod cover, the custom diamond inlay, Epiphone inlay, as well as a multi-layer binding again. And on the back, nothing really special here because the electronics are just normal Les Paul. Again, it's a custom, so you're going to see binding on the back, where when we looked at the Matt Hafey custom last week, that is a modern guitar, so you didn't have this neck joint. It's got better access with the modern. But again, you got the maple neck, and one of the coolest things with the Zakk Wylde guitars, you get a stinger, you get his logo, and all the hardware on this guitar is going to be gold. Alright, so let's take a look at the specifications. First one is going to be our scale length. It is a standard Les Paul, so we're going to see 24 3/4 inches. And our weight is going to be 8 pounds, 13.6 ounces. So really close to 9 pounds on this one. One thing you'll have to note about the Zakk Wylde guitars is he likes a very chunky neck. So here you can see the profile of the neck. It's going to be kind of a D-shaped, kind of flat, but it's very, very thick, as you'll see in the next measurements we start taking. So we are going to have a neck radius of 12 inches. So that spec will be in line with most Les Pauls as well. And we have a nut width of 1.71 inches. And that's going to grow to 2.05 inches by the 12th fret. And we got a body thickness of 1.98 inches. We got a first fret neck depth of 0.86 inches. And that measurement's going to increase to 0.96 inches by the 12th fret. So like I said, this is going to be a very beefy neck. It feels even thicker than most 50s Les Paul necks. Alright, so taking a look at the parts and pieces, we have black top hat knobs with gold reflectors, both for volume and tone. And then our tailpiece is going to be Epiphone branded, plated gold. And our bridge, again, typical Epiphone with gold plating. The Epiphone version is always going to have the wire holding down your intonation markers. And this one is marked B2 on the back. Now let's take a closer look at these routes. This is a very interesting guitar because the routes are not what they usually are. You know, the back one is about normal, okay? But when you start looking at this front one, it's like, what is going on here? And what it is typically when they route these, they run this side channel for the wiring, but there's a step up like there is on the back, on the front cavity. But this front cavity is just extremely deep. It is a short neck tenon, and unlike the EMG 8185s. We do have a plug-in clip for our pickups, but in this case it's going to be 5 wires instead of 3 like we see on the other EMGs yesterday. And then our truss rod cover, typical Epiphone type, 3 bolts. This is going to be multi-layered because it's a custom, and it's going to say Zakk Wylde on it, of course. And then truss rod adjustments, typical Epiphone. You're going to use an Allen wrench. And our pickups, in the neck, we've got an EMG H4A. And then in the bridge, EMG H4. And again, these are going to be clip-on pickups. So if you want to move them around or try different types of EMG pickups, you're able to do so without having to resolder the wires. And to check out the electronics, these are EMG pickups, but it looks like we are just using the typical Epiphone wiring and pots. Because they're not active, they will be in the same value, not the small mini pots like we had to do with the actives. And typical Epiphone switch. Again, just a toggle switch to go between the neck, the bridge, and a combination of the two. So final thought for the Zakk Wylde Epiphone Les Paul with the camo. It's going to be very much just like the Bullseye we covered. Pretty much an identical guitar. It's got the same specs, the same pickups. Pretty much everything's identical, except for the maple fretboard on this one. But this is going to be probably my favorite one because I love the camo pattern that was seen on the cover with Dimebag in one magazine back in the day. So I've always loved this guitar in particular because of the finish, and that would be because of Dimebag. But like I said, this is a great guitar. It has a nice fat chunky neck, gets some good sounding pickups, some very original specs. But yeah, it's a great guitar overall. Give it I'll say a 9.5 out of 10. If it had a thinner neck, I would say for an Epiphone, a high-end Epiphone, it'd be pretty excellent. All right, well, that's it for this time. If you guys would give us a like and a subscribe and leave us a comment below what you would like to see next. And we'll try to touch base with you and reply to those comments. And we will see you on the next video. You guys have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye.